Well, hello, TCC. Good morning. My son Elijah's leaving soon for a few months, and so I wanted to do something special for him, so I thought I'd make him a cake, and we'll have it together after supper today. So I've got my recipe. It calls for pretty normal cake sort of stuff, sugar, flour, baking soda, that kind of thing. And so I've got some of my ingredients out here, and I'm going to just start popping them into my mixer here. Kind of embarrassing, but I totally thought I had sugar, and I don't have any sugar. So I'm going to do a little substitution in the recipe. I thought, instead of sugar, I'll just put in some sugary cereal. They're both sugary, so it should work okay, right? I'm going to give it a try. That looks about right. Now, I also unfortunately forgot to check, and I don't have any eggs. So, eggs are kind of goopy, so I got this applesauce. It's about the same texture, so I'm going to pop that in there as well. Now, one last ingredient that I want to put in here because my kids, I don't know why, but they just don't eat enough vegetables. So I thought I'm going to make them have a little bit of veggies. I'm going to try to hide green beans in the cake. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just mix it up. So this cake dough, it looks a little bit lumpier than when I've made it before, but let's pop it in the oven and see what happens.
Hey everyone, today I get to tell you the story of the two builders. Now this story is a parable that Jesus told at the very end of his special sermon called the Sermon on the Mount. Let's read it in Matthew chapter 7. It says, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, and the winds blew and pounded that house. Yet it didn't collapse, because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house, and it collapsed with a great crash." Now Jesus is telling this story at the very end of his sermon, where he had given the people a bunch of different instructions. He's saying, if you hear the words I've said, heard my instructions, but don't obey them and don't follow them, then you're foolish. But if you hear what I say and do what I say as well, then you're wise. You're like the man who built his house on the rock. Because when the storms and rains come, when hard things in life happen, you'll be able to stand firm because you've built your life on Jesus' words.
So, would you like to see the cake? I cut myself a little piece of it to taste test it before I serve it today for dinner. And here it is. Let's see what it tastes like. Well, this cake is, it's awful. It's not good. I guess it would have been wiser to follow my recipe. It kind of makes me think of the parable that Anna told us about, where Jesus says people who listen to what he says and actually do it are wise. They are like people who built their house on a rock. I bet they would also be the kind of people who would follow a recipe. Reading your Bible and finding out what Jesus says, but then not actually doing it, it's kind of silly. It's just like making a recipe and not following it. The cake that you end up with doesn't taste that great. Life goes a lot smoother when you read the Bible and hear what Jesus says, and then actually do it as well. So, let's be wise, and let's read our Bible, and let's do what it says as well.